I was born to fight wars that no army could win. There was no fear, no failure. But the rules have changed. The enemy changed. And no one was ready for it.
The Black Hand. They are the world's most powerful private army. But even they should fear what they've created. This isn't a war, Rico. This is survival.
Does that happen a lot?
Want me getting shot at? All the time.
Make no mistake. What a renaissance. Force my hand. Force my hand.
Please welcome Jessica Chobot and Francesco Antolini.
E3 is going, whoa.
Hello, nice crowd.
Hello. That'll wake you up. Hope everybody's E3 is going really well. I know that we are, I think, the last show of the day for
That's
the
what they say,
Coliseum.
yeah.
So, yes, congrats. We've all made it. Yes. I know. Well, I hope you guys had an excellent time. Really fast, I want to introduce, before we kick things off too much, the showcase video that we have for you guys that gives you a little bit more of an in-depth look as to what Just Cause 4 is all about. So let's take a look at that.
I'm just.
Welcome to Just Cause 4 and the return of Rico Rodriguez, a rogue agent on a mission that'll challenge everything and everyone he knows. Rico has arrived in the fictional South American country of Solis, the largest and most breathtaking world we've ever created. Every journey into Solis will uncover history, secrets, and danger. Never before has a Just Cause game offered greater variety, rich in all forms of life. At first glance, Solis is a beautiful location, but scratch the surface and you will uncover oppression, fear, and violence, all enforced by Gabriella, the leader of the private militia organization, the Black Hand. Just Cause 4 takes destruction and physics simulation to a whole new level with the introduction of extreme weather. Experience towering tornadoes that can tear trees from the ground and level bridges to sticks. Awesome forked lightning, unpredictable and deadly sandstorms, and roaring blizzards. Witness the spectacular destruction as they offer both a challenge to Rico, as well as creating fun opportunities for creative sandbox gameplay. Our vehicles have been totally overhauled with new additions that offer extra gameplay opportunities. Bulldozers, car transporters, cranes, and even wrecking balls are all fun in our world. We have new handling on bikes and cars, as well as exotic vehicles like jet skis and microjets. Rico's grapple is now fully customizable and has been overhauled to make it more intuitive for newcomers, while offering greater depth for a more experienced player. The grapple now has more tethers than ever before, and the ability to deploy booster rockets in the all-new airlifters, making the grapple an incredibly powerful and creative tool. Meanwhile, a new story glues together our free-form, go-anywhere, do-anything gameplay that Just Cause is so famous for, and the stakes for Rico have never been higher. Combat in Just Cause 4 is better than ever. Enemies now present a far more intelligent threat to Rico. Each archetype comes with unique abilities, with AI designed to keep the player on their toes. Solis is a deeply advanced systemic world, and everything you've seen, from the incredible physicalized destruction to unparalleled draw distance, is powered by the brand new, best-in-class, open-world Apex engine. Welcome to Just Cause 4.
Nice. Awesome, thank you. Also, hi guys up there. I just noticed you guys were up there because I couldn't see because the lights were on. I was like, oh, there's people up there.
Yep.
We got a whole big crowd. All right, well, let's jump right into it. I think a great place to start in regards to Just Cause 4 and kind of the new world we find ourselves in is actually the new world, the world of Solis. So tell me a little bit more about Solis. What was your goals by creating it, and how did you advance the world that we'll be running around in?
Yeah, thanks for this question. I love actually to start talking about Solis. In A Just Cause, we always say that there are two main characters. One is Rico, the other one is the world. Like, it's your playground, it's what surprises you, it's what lets you explore around. And it's exactly this, more of a sense of variety of things to discover, the point that we wanted to improve upon from the previous game. And South America as inspiration for this world is rooted into this goal. There are few places into the world where it's plausible to transition from a rainforest to desert to grassland to alpine regions. And that's what you're going to find in Solis. So variety, and at the same time an accent on verticality. This is a game where you really move in three dimensions. You're never actually anchored to the ground. Most of the times you're in the air, right? So it's important to have difference in height, to have high rises, low rises, and an interest in going up and down. And there too, the reference to South America, it's good because, say, our desert, for example, is inspired by Atacama. It's a desert full of mesas, canyons, rather than, say, Sahara, which is more about gentle hills. Beyond that, it's a frame of reference that also gives a lot of idea and inspiration for unique landmarks. Think about Incan ruins, right? Or the mysterious craters in the desert, or the mighty river inspired by the Rio of the Amazon. So yeah, surprise, variety, the sense of everything being fresh and of a new discovery waiting for you behind every corner.
So this kind of, it could potentially lead us into a little bit of the story, but it's not just the details of the world in regards to the environment necessarily, like the different biomes and everything, but you also have a backstory to Solis, which I think, in my personal opinion, helps really cement it in within a solid base. Yeah. So give me a little bit more information on why that.
This is not a random place. Solis is actually the place of birth of the Black Hand. Something that we wanted to do, beyond everything else, with this game was also to step up the narrative, to make Rico a more rounded and deep character. And so we are going to tell a lot about him, and at the same time, to try to throw, an anchor, an hook to the previous games, we've decided to reveal what the story of the Black Hand is. For those of you who haven't played, the reason is that the Black Hand was this shadowy military force that was featured in all the previous Just Causes. There is another reason for doing that. The Black Hand, again, is a super advanced military, and that justifies the type of military technology that you're going to find into the game. We have stepped up combat a lot from the previous game. So you're going to find your standard enemies. You're going to find enemies with advanced abilities, like we got enemies that can cloak a la Predator, if you want. We're going to feature drones that we have designed with the explicit goal of challenging Rico when in the wingsuit. We've got turrets that can lock on you, follow you, and you need to be quite smart to disarm them because they have weak points that are hidden behind panels that you need to snatch, etc., etc. So hopefully it's a level of challenge that will keep players engaged for a long time.
Yeah. And leading the Black Hand is, I hate to call her a villain because she's not really a villain. She's more of just an opposite of Rico, is Gabriella.
Yes.
So what's her role in all this?
I don't want to reveal too much. She's the commander of the Black Hand. And what I like to say is that, you know, in every good story, things are never black and white. And I leave it there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. All right, well, let's shift gears and talk about, you guys, one of the things, aside from the Black Hand, that Rico finds himself going up against is the weather system. You guys have a unique approach to weather. It's not necessarily just a flat texture. It actually is interactive.
Yes.
So tell me what your plans are with the weather system.
So going back to the philosophy that informs not just Cause, but all of our games, we say if you see it, you can reach it. That's true of all of Avalanche words. And in particular, with Just Cause, it's also that if you poke it, it reacts. So we don't feature in the game what I usually call plastic things that are just there for the sake of giving you a nice view. So the tornado itself, since you mentioned it, it's an actual big boy that roams the grasslands and is completely physicalized. So you've seen in the video the tornado snatching airplane from the soils and containers and stuff. Those moments are not scripted, and there are no custom forces that are applied to this object because they know that there is a tornado that is coming. There is an actual wind that goes around it. And wind is indeed, let me talk a little bit about this before going back to the tornado. We have a new engine now. We have a sandbox that is based fundamentally on physics. Physics informs all what we do. And being based on physics is also what makes this game so intuitive to pick up, because everybody knows how physics works, and everybody knows what gravity is. I don't need to explain it, right? So when we were starting the game, we got neuropower under our hands. We were like, how do we use it? And we started prototyping different things. We prototyped electricity, for example, because it was fun to destroy electric central and see the city go black. We prototype oil, because we had this image of you shooting a tank and it leaking oil, and then shoot the oil and then the tank exploding. But not really worked, you know. Electricity would have lent itself more to a puzzle-ish type of gameplay. And the other case, why should I shoot the oil when I can shoot directly the tank, right? It was not for our game. So we started fiddling around with wind. And whether wind may seem like, you know, a make choice for an open world to do something new, it's not the moment that your character moves primarily through a parachute and a wingsuit that react naturally with wind. It was very nice. There is wind into the game. And it was very nice, the feeling of just being, you know, carried along the breeze. However, we are Just Cause, and being carried along the breeze, it's definitely not enough. We needed to go over the top. And how do you go over the top when you have that? Well, a tornado was kind of a natural choice to go to. The tornado worked really well. It was fun to play with, and so we decided to make that one of the focus of our game. And when I say that, I don't refer just to the tornado, I refer to extreme weather in general. So I was telling about the world before, 4 biomes, and each biome is associated to a specific event. Whoa! So
one of them.
So we're going to have the tornado in the grasslands, sandstorms in the desert, lightning storms in the rainforest, and blizzards in the alpine. A couple of things about this. One other reason why these events work very well in a Just Cause world, our map is big. It's probably it's one of the biggest that's out there. And it's not big for the sake of being big. It's big because you move fast. Either you are in a jet or in a Lamborghini-inspired car or with your wingsuit. So you cover ground at a very, very high speed, hence the need for a big map. In a big map, small things are not so relevant. So, you know, we needed something big, and what bigger than a giant sandstorm that comes to you, or a tornado, and so on. what's cool then is that we started actually by prototyping the Tornado, and we discovered about the potential for gameplay on multiple levels. It can cater to a more casual approach where you just stay 60, 70 meters away from it and have fun throwing enemies inside it. Or you can challenge yourself more, try to master the dynamic of extreme wind and then use the Tornado as a wind ramp. And that fun is the same fun that we wanted to find with the other extreme weather events. So we designed them with their sandbox potential in mind. Just to make an example, I like particularly the lightning storm. The way that it works, you know that a lightning is going to hit the highest things on the screen. What does this mean? This means that if you're Rico, if you are wingsuiting, your life may be a little bit hard unless you have, say, a chopper above you. But the moment that you're on the ground and you want to use this to your advantage, nothing is easier because you can just take your enemies, toss them into the air, and see them being zapped by a lightning. There are more advanced things that you can do. You can, for example, you could re-lean down a ledge. We have a lot of things that are shaped like this, right? You can just re-lean there. You've got enemies here, and just have fun seeing your lightning, zapping them one after the other.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I also thought was really, really interesting about the dynamic weather and just the weather in general, and when I say weather in general, one of the examples you gave me during our live stream, which was awesome, by the way, you guys, just wanted to throw that out there. It was really good. Was that like things like the clouds and stuff, they're not just wallpaper. You actually can go and fly above the clouds now, fly through them. These things are there. And that kind of also transitions over into the weather patterns like we're talking about with the Tornado. We had a lot of YouTubers as part of our live stream get their hands on the game. And I think you can catch some of their videos up online right now on their channels, if not the Just Cause channel. But you'll see that they'll pick up cars and stuff, and you think, as Rico, you're far enough away. But no, because all of a sudden, like an 18-wheeler gets dropped on top of you because it got flown and flung out from the tornado. And so you think you're safe, but you're not safe. And then you start over, and it's like, oh, my God.
Once I had cows raining over my head.
Oh, I love the cow story. So the cow story. The cow story was my favorite because, the tornado can kind of go wherever it wants on this path. And I guess you guys were watching it once, and it had grabbed a bunch of cars, and then you ran it again, and it grabbed a whole herd of cows and tossed them up into the air. I shouldn't be laughing. That's horrible.
Anyway,
that's horrible. I love that stuff.
Anyway, since you mentioned the clouds before, there are a couple of things I want to say about that.
Don't hurt cows.
No, without cows. Maybe I could put a cow in the clouds. They are volumetric, so they are actual 3D, and okay, this means that you can go through them. One of the main reasons why we needed actual clouds is that you cannot just create a tornado or a storm out of nothing, right? Especially in a game that wants to be quite realistic and have a certain degree of fidelity in the way that it represents reality. You want for a proper cloud formation to anticipate the storm if you want and to make sense. Because it's not just about physics, it's also about atmosphere. So when you got in proximity of one of these events, the whole world changes and you feel it. And to make this work, there is an actual weather simulation that runs under the hood. So we are computing in real time things like humidity, pressure, and so on, to display a landscape that actually makes sense. But beyond that, what really makes me happy, and the image that I was after with that, it's when you are above the clouds, you can finally see your sea of clouds with the mountain peak coming out of it, and it's quite of a sight.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So let's shift gears and talk more about the grappling hook, because I know that a lot of people want to get into some of the customization that you can do with it now, and then the unique things that you brought in for the grappling hook for Just Cause 4. And we saw a little bit of that in the trailer. Yeah,
we basically, we kept on progressing into that natural evolution that the grappling hook have seen during the evolution of Just Cause itself. In the first title, it was an attachment that you needed to equip getting into a menu and basically took the place of your gun. In 2, it gets part of Rico and leaves your hands free so you can shoot, and the grappling hook becomes one of your primary means of movement. In 3, we began to experiment giving players the ability of using the grappling hook to interact with the physics in the world. We had this ability called retract. You could tether 2 things and then have them smash against each other. Sounds shallow, but actually it had an enormous potential. The player had a lot of fun to use, and they created tons of video doing the most crazy thing just with this. Like one of my favorites is this guy, his hobby is to try to park giant cargo planes on top of skyscrapers. And to do this, he tethers the cargo plane to the skyscraper while he's standing on top of it, and then he gently retracts it by slowing it down until it gets there. I imagine he has to try that stunt like 10,000 times before he manages to do this nice. So I wanted to make life of these gamers a little bit easier, right? So that you don't need to try 10,000 times to do a stunt before you can pull it off. Yeah. So from one side, we are giving an extreme flexibility in the way that you can change the variable and the parameters attached to the grappling hook attachments. So you have your retractor, and you can decide how strong it is, how fast it retracts, or whether it has to create an explosion at the end of its action, because why not, right? And then on top of that, we got new attachments. So another thing that people loved from Just Cause 3 were the planted explosive. They loved it because there was an upgrade that transformed that into mini jet booster for a little bit of a time before they exploded. So, but the point is that then they exploded, so the fun was over. So we taken just the booster part of it, and we attached it to the grappling hook. So now if you want, you can attach boosters to things. But again, going into that mods philosophy I was talking about before, you can then decide whether you want them to explode or not, as you can decide a handful of other things. For example, if they have to propel against camera direction or towards you, if they have to be stable or not, and so on and so on and so on. I like to stress a lot that these things, these parameters, these things that you can mod, they're not upgrades. They're just mod. They're a way to change the way you play. It's not that it's better to play with a certain loadout or with another one. Last but not least, one of my favorites is called the airlifter. And that's what the name implies. So you attach these things to things, and it brings them up, okay? So in its simplest form, you just attach these things, this airlifter, they look like balloons, and things goes up, and then you can release the tether, have them fall down. Now, if it's a cow, it will ragdoll. Yeah. If it's a red barrel, it will explode. And there, too, you have a variety of things, a variety of parameters you can act upon to change the way they works. For example, you can tell them to stay, I don't know, not to go more than 50 meters high and follow you. Yeah. This means that you can create a cloud of red barrels that follows you and, you know, entering a military base in style. Yeah.
We had one of the YouTubers, again, from the stream, who made a video.
So much fun.
No joke, he literally attached an airlifter to every single villager in this village and then set them to follow and then forced them all to float follow him to have a picnic out because he wanted to make friends. I'm not kidding. I can't remember who said that they did that. I think oh gosh, I don't remember. But yeah, there's been some amazing things. Even just the trailers and the hands-on videos that we've seen, and by we've seen, I mean out of the live stream that we did, where it was just like, how did you come up with that? I mean, they would just like lock everything together and float them on out and be like, bye. One guy accidentally, oh, I probably shouldn't share this.
No?
Well,
okay,
it's in the video. I didn't make the video. One guy accidentally hit somebody, you know, when they were driving in the car, and then he wanted to take them to the hospital, so he attached a balloon to them and then attached them to a tether to the car and then drove the car away while the person was like unconscious floating. But then the balloon was so strong that it actually lifted them all up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. I can't wait for this game. I'm very excited. Well, we only have 3 minutes left, so really quick. I mean, I
will talk hours about this game.
Yeah. I mean, If you can give me in like 1 or 2 lines what's new about Rico, like how would you describe the new Rico for Just Cause 4?
Well,
Like a little
the first thing that comes to mind is no more denim on denim.
Yeah, he's not wearing denim
pretty
tuxedo
evident.
no more. That's
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, and he's fighting for a cause that it's a little bit
Yeah,
exactly.
a just cause.
Exactly.
Actually, my tagline that I wanted to pitch to you guys, which I think I told you before, is, hey, we got a new game. Explosions. Why? Just cause. No, yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's cheesy. I know it. But sometimes that's what makes it fun. Awesome.
Well, another thing that is new, since we got the 3 minutes, the combat. I was talking before about the enemies, and especially if you guys have played the previous games, one of the first things that you're going to notice as soon as you take the gamepad in your hands, we now have proper iron sights. So, on the left trigger as in other shooters. And we did that to make combat more tight, more fun actually, and a little bit more challenging, and multiply the possibilities that you actually have to engage with enemies. All the weapons now feature secondary fire, and secondary fire is something that we have that we are featuring with the goal of giving you yet another thing to discover. It's not your standard secondary fire. I don't know. We have weapons that shoot drones as secondary fire, right? Other that deploy a shield around you. So it's. I mean, if you've been successful with that, anytime you're going to pick up a new weapon, you're going to instinctively to look for the button to see what it does.
That's awesome. And I also do think, I mean, we got 2 minutes left. I also wanted to toss into the mix. I mean, I know we've touched upon dynamic weather a lot, but I really do feel like this dynamic weather is a trend that you guys have started. I feel like this might be the new water. Like what water was, that sounds so weird to say, what water was 10 years ago, where everybody was like, oh my God, look at that. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Oh, wow. I think that weather is going to be the new milestone in gaming that we're going to see really, really take off, where it is more interactive. It does affect the gameplay. It affects the characters. It affects not only them, but the world around it. I love your story about how one of the NPCs or the AIs was just wandering around and realized that a tornado was behind him, tried to escape and run away from it, and tripped and fell on his own, this AI, and then like scrambled to try and...
It was too late, though.
I love it, though, because those are the details that really solidify the world, the characters, and the area around it. I think another example was... not that I mean to be speaking for you, but another example was that somebody was saying, well, why are none of the AI shooting at me? And you're like, turn around. And the dude turned around, Rico turned around, and saw that there was a gigantic tornado barreling down on him. And all the AI, they were like, we're out. We don't care about you right now. And that's brilliant. I love it. So I really think that that's going to be a really cool trend that you guys have kicked off. I think people have dabbled in it, but you really kind of went below the surface and brought something of hardcore substance. Well, we only have 23 seconds left, so I just want to wrap this up with a big round of applause, not only for Francesco and Just Cause 4, but for you guys too, because you made it to the end of another E3. Good job, and thank you for joining us. I really hope all you guys had a wonderful E3. Hope to see you next year, and definitely keep an eye out for Just Cause 4 when it launches in December. Thanks so much, you guys, and have a great night.